This is the second entry in my 3-part series discussing our favorite bona fide city girl, Miss Carrie Bradshaw. More specifically, we're focusing our lens on Carrie's core problem, that she doesn't understand love. More specifically, she doesn't understand the difference between love and limerence. If you need a refresher on Carrie's emotional state in seasons 1 and 2, feel free to pop over to part 1, which is linked below. Now, on to the analysis. The third season of Sex and the City is a turning point for the show and its characters, as the ladies go from perpetually single to being in committed relationships. From my research, which primarily consists of lurking on the subreddit and binging other people's Sex and the City video essays, it seems like many modern fans wish Mr. Big was left in season 2, married off to his young, beautiful wife and out of our lives for good. People felt like season 3 was the opportunity for Carrie to let go of her big issues and to grow. But as we all know, Mr. Big doesn't stay gone for very long, and he will come crashing back into her life with force. I think this is also the point in the show that opinions on Carrie really start to diverge. Carrie in the early days of the show is the filter for the audience to see other characters, the strange men of New York, and the city itself. Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha act as representatives of the 3, often in opposition to each other, pillars of the Gen X woman: work, marriage, and liberation. They kind of act as the devil and angel on Carrie's shoulders, helping her make decisions. But as we progress through the series, the other ladies gain more well-rounded personalities, and Carrie feels less like our stand-in and more like her own person. Before we dive into Carrie's season 3 mistakes, we need to revisit what she's learned so far. One of her core takeaways from season 2 is realizing that she picks the wrong men. After her breakup with Big, her friends push her to see a therapist to walk through her issues with men. The therapist immediately clocks Carrie as someone who likes to play games in her relationships, which is why she ends up dating so many emotionally unavailable men. By the end of the episode, Carrie has a breakthrough and admits that Dr. G is right. Carrie's therapy session reminds me a lot of a conversation Khloe Kardashian had on her podcast, Khloe in Wonderland, where relationship expert and dating coach Logan Uri discusses the spark. Logan explains that many women will dismiss great potential partners because they don't feel that immediate spark. Logan advises strongly against this. She argues that the spark is an overrated and often unreliable sign of compatibility, and is much more about a person's charisma than actual connection. Carrie is someone who really values the initial spark because she believes that love should feel like losing control. But the spark is just limerence, a temporary, high-voltage state of infatuation. According to psychologist Dr. Dorothy Tenoff, limerence lasts around 18 months, and if the feeling is unrequited, can last even longer. Carrie romanticizes chaos and instability because they feel like passion. But passion shouldn't be the barometer for a good relationship because it's so fleeting. After a brief stint playing politician's girlfriend, Carrie is brought back down to earth by her greatest fear from season 1 being recognized. What if he never calls and I pick up the New York Times and read that he has married the perfect woman? She opened the New York Times wedding section to read that Mr. Big has married the perfect girl, Natasha, a gorgeous 25-year-old from a good family he met in Paris. Yet again, Carrie is sent down a spiral of her own insecurity. She develops a Natasha-specific obsession, which she claims has nothing to do with Big. For once, I actually agree with her. This isn't about Big. This is about her own self-worth. Natasha represents everything Carrie feels she isn't: youthful, composed, conventionally beautiful, and socially polished. Natasha is the all-white Vera Wang amalgamation of everything Carrie feels she will never be. This scene is straight out of the 2025 playbook. Just replace the Sunday Times wedding section with Vogue Wedding's Instagram account and Natasha with any clean girl influencer, and you have my Explorer page in a nutshell. Just imagine you were scrolling TikTok to see a Vogue Weddings post featuring the man you were obsessed with for 2 years and the beautiful young girl that he just started dating. You would spiral too. We open season 3 with an episode all about fairy tales. Princesses being rescued by white knights and living happily ever after. To the shock and horror of the other ladies, Charlotte says what they don't want to admit, that sometimes women just want to be rescued. I think this episode's central theme is laying the groundwork for Carrie's mentality going into her relationship with Aiden. There is a sense at the start of the season that Carrie might be more conventional in love than one would anticipate from a out-all-night sex columnist. She turns her head at dating a bisexual guy, cringes away from the politician's kinks, and is constantly bringing up wanting something more stable. You have to wonder if she would be happier in a more traditional relationship. Enter the warm, masculine, and classic American furniture designer, Aidan Shaw. Stanford calls him perfect for Carrie, joking, "I'll come visit you and the children in your country cabin upstate." After years of chasing emotionally unavailable men, Aiden is positioned as the antidote, but we're not convinced yet that Carrie is cut out for a more down-to-earth guy and conventional commitment. During their first conversation, Carrie lies to Aiden 3 times. Pretending she doesn't know it's his store, pretending to want to buy a chair, and claiming to be a designer to get a discount. Instead of beating herself up about lying, she takes it as a sign of being really into Aiden. This is obviously not the best start to a long-term committed relationship, especially because Carrie goes on to lie numerous times on their first date, most notably about smoking only a little, because he seems turned off by it. At the end of their first date, Aiden sets a strict boundary with Carrie that he won't date a smoker. She's disappointed, but doubles down to her friends the next day that smoking is part of who I am. She feels like quitting would mean losing a piece of her identity. The episode asks an important question. When we change for love, are we growing or just performing? Is Carrie improving herself or losing what makes her special? Carrie's dilemma is one many creatives face. It might sound cliche, but many artists resist getting help or giving up their vices because they fear that without the extremes of their emotions, their craft will suffer. Carrie sees herself as a free spirit, fueled by extremes. So when she meets someone as stable as Aiden, she wonders if choosing him and giving up habits like smoking would make her less her. Would she still be vibrant and inspired, or just another cookie-cutter person? In the end, Carrie decides that she will quit smoking, though she does not convince us it is for any reason other than seeing Aiden again. Unfortunately, Carrie struggles to change anything for her own sake. Someone else, usually a man, has to be the catalyst. The beginning of Carrie and Aiden's relationship is rocky, but in the exact opposite way to how her relationship with Big started. With Big, she was worried about having sex with him on the first date. With Aiden, Carrie is banging her head against a wall, wondering why after a week and a half he still hasn't slept with her. It's a funny reversal that harkens back to the pilot. The women of New York have internalized the idea that men only want physical affection, not emotional connection. For Carrie, this is uncharted territory. When they finally do sleep together, the anxiety doesn't stop. In episode 7, Drama Queen, Carrie starts having anxiety dreams. For weeks, she is jolted awake in a panic but doesn't know why. And this is a crisis not even $400 strappy sandals can fix. She awakens from another night of disturbed sleep, only to realize that nothing is wrong. And that was the problem. For the first time in her life, Carrie is in a relationship where absolutely nothing is wrong. And it's freaking her out. Psychologists note that anxiety dreams can occur even when life is going well, because your subconscious mind is still processing underlying or unresolved stress. Any changes, positive or negative in life, can trigger them. What's so funny about this episode is that Carrie starts acting just like Big. and she knows it. She's reluctant to meet Aiden's parents and tells him that he is too available for her. She says that she can't take the pressure of a perfect relationship and that she is used to the hunt. But Miranda counters by saying, maybe you don't know it's for real unless someone is playing hard to get. Carrie displays traits associated with having an anxious avoidant attachment style. Anxious avoidant attachment is a type of insecure attachment style characterized by having conflicting desires for closeness and a fear of intimacy. Individuals with this attachment style experience a push and pull dynamic, alternating between seeking and avoiding emotional connection. Carrie's brain has been conditioned to associate love with feelings of tension, distance, and constant pursuit. You can sit on my lap, but you can't sit on the laptop. She goes on to question if we need drama to make a relationship work. After seeing Big at the opera and running out in a panic, Carrie is dead set on making things work with Aiden, but she gets nervous that it might be too late when she can't get a hold of him. In reality, Aiden is just doing what she asked, being less available. I didn't think, I just did. Carrie leaves Aiden on dry land to attend a boat party, where she yet again runs into Big. He tells her that he expected to see her here, which I think she internalizes as him coming to this party to see her. In the days that follow, Big starts calling her house, leaving messages on her machine, and showing up to her apartment unannounced and drunk. She pushes him away in person, but quickly backtracks on her boundaries by listening to his voice message. Big is pulling her back in, and she doesn't want to care, but she can't help it. She sinks even further within the following weeks after she runs into Big and Natasha while helping Aiden sell furniture. Instead of being honest with Aiden about who Big and Natasha are, she blows it off by saying that she knew them 100 years ago and in a past life. When in reality, she has seen Big 4 times since she started dating Aiden. Carrie hides Big away because she is stuck pondering if it's smarter to follow your heart or your head. She is torn between what she knows, she has a committed and emotionally available man in her life, and what she feels, major attraction to Big, and a sense of winning knowing he still wants her. In classic Carrie fashion, her feelings win out, and she begins an affair with Big. The instigating incident in the elevator gets a lot of heat online because it is a less than stellar portrayal of consent. In my point of view, did Big force himself on Carrie? Yes. I think she would have gone upstairs if he left her alone and not slept with him that night. However, I do think their rekindling is pretty inevitable. And if it didn't happen at the hotel, it would have happened in the back room of the next downtown party that they ran into each other at. The affair begins with Carrie lighting up in a dark room, a deliberate symbol of relapse. The show uses her smoking addiction as a placeholder for her Big addiction. It is difficult for me and the general public to empathize with Carrie during their affair because she seems to be enjoying it so much. Carrie is living in a Lifetime television show, not reality. Her actions are delusional and selfish. It's only when she's face to face with Aiden or Natasha or even herself that she really registers how awful what she's doing is. Carrie, consumed with guilt, eventually tells Aiden about the affair, and he breaks up with her. We see Carrie 10 days post-breakup, and she's sad, but it isn't this withdrawal of emotion like it was when she ended things with Big. She tries to run away from her problems in Los Angeles, but you can never really escape your past. She finds herself back in New York and back to wondering about Big. After running into Aiden and Steve on the street, the girls get together for a post-mortem to discuss how to recoup and recover over a relationship. Carrie says that she doesn't normally obsess over men, which incites resounding eye rolls and, yeah rights. She concedes that she did obsess over Big. Aiden was easy. I heard him, he left. Big was tricky. I still don't know what happened with that one. Big remains a what if. Psychologically, this is what researchers call the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency of the human brain to fixate on incomplete experiences. We tend to replay unfinished stories because we are desperate to impose meaning on them. Miranda's blow-up at Carrie for meeting Big again at the end of season 3 is completely justified. She sees the pattern that Carrie is stuck in. She frames their meeting as just lunch, and insists that she's not trying to start back up with Big. She makes it sound like she's going for closure, but what she's really hoping for is validation. She wants him to finally say she's the one. This latest rewatch made me wonder, what could Big have said to Carrie that would finally make her move on? I think he needed to acknowledge his feelings and validate the importance and novelty of their connection. But then I think he needed to be honest and say, I love you, I care about you, what we have is chemical and cosmic, but that isn't enough for me. That isn't what I value. I value my freedom, not being tied down, and a relationship that is easy. Since Big could never fully validate Carrie's feelings, and also couldn't say in plain terms what he wanted, they went around in circles for years. Season 4 opens with Carrie's 35th birthday, a milestone that, in both the context of the show and the culture of the early 2000s, carried heavy meaning. At the time, turning 35 was often framed as a woman's expiration date. Society told women that by 35 they should be married, have children, and be well established in their careers. Fertility statistics were weaponized as fear tactics, turning aging into a ticking clock. The show captures this anxiety perfectly when Carrie receives an ad for a dating website in the mail that begins with the patronizing salutation, "Dear Single." By the end of the episode, after a disastrous birthday dinner and an honest discussion with the girls, Carrie tries out a new perspective. What if her friends are her soulmates, and the men in her life are just nice guys to have fun with? Carrie tests this theory by going out for drinks with Big. Carrie and Big have defined their relationship. They are just friends now. Or as Carrie puts it, war buddies, held together by shared trauma. Though no one in Carrie's life, or myself, believes that they are just friends, when I see how much fun they have together, I have to wonder if a flirtatious friendship was their ideal relationship format. They live apart, do fun and glamorous activities together, have sex sometimes, but don't have all the extra commitments. When Miranda drags Carrie to Steve's new bar opening, we are introduced to Aiden 2.0. Gone is the anti-smoking carpenter with long hair, paisley shirts, and a beer belly. Aiden 2.0 is rocking a crew cut and a dinner jacket, smoking a Cuban, and doesn't give a fuck. Aiden's new look and personality resemblance to Big is not subtle, and Carrie is into it. He is looking really good to her now. He's teasing her, dodging her questions, and radiating indifference. And it has her hooked. There's an inherent allure to a man who seems too cool to care. Carrie catches feelings real fast, and she seems to be trying to rewrite history. She claims to have been missing Aiden the whole time they were broken up, but we have barely heard her mention him since. It feels like confirmation bias. She wants Aiden back, but to prove to herself and everyone else that it's not because of how he looks, she tries to make it seem like she has been dreaming of him all along. After some reluctance, Aiden and Carrie begin round 2 of their relationship. Carrie is determined to make up for her past mistakes by throwing herself into the role of the committed, doting girlfriend. However, there's something that feels a little disingenuous about the way she's acting. She spends an entire episode trying to make up for Big calling her house by showering Aiden with compliments. I think she means the nice things she's saying, but it comes across as forced. After a few thorny interactions, they finally address the big elephant in the room. Now, this video isn't about Aiden, but I think it's worth mentioning that this was probably the moment he should have walked away from Carrie for good. She can't commit to cutting Big out of her life. She enjoys their dynamic too much and feels this permanent connection to him. But she needed to leave Big in the past if she wanted any real chance at making things work with Aiden. Carrie, like many of us, wants growth without sacrifice. And because of that, every new beginning just feels like a continuation of the same story. Over the next few episodes, Aiden and Carrie's relationship gets more serious, and we see them go through a variety of sticky situations as a couple, all of which mirror what's going on in Carrie's psyche. While writing a new column, Carrie's laptop crashes, and she starts freaking out. Aiden tries to solve the issue, but the laptop's memory is wiped, and Carrie admits to never having backed up her work. In an effort to make her feel better while the old laptop is in the shop, Aiden goes out and gets her a brand new one. and she is less than thrilled. She felt like he was forcing her to move on when she wasn't ready to let go of her old laptop, and metaphorically, her old lifestyle. This episode really highlights that if Carrie wants this relationship to work, she needs to change her independent, I don't need your help mindset. She also has to admit that the way she's been doing things isn't working. Because if she can't learn to evolve, she risks losing what really matters. Carrie continues to act like the Mr. Big of this relationship. While Aiden is pushing for closeness, Carrie is pushing away. She shouts, "What more could you want?" after she gives him a key to her apartment. But Aiden wants to know how to get into Carrie's heart, not just her front door. Summer comes around and Aiden wants Carrie to join him at his rustic cabin in the country. Carrie begrudgingly agrees to go, but immediately feels out of place. She starts to wonder if staying in the country is compromising for her loved one or compromising herself. A continuation of the same dilemma she had when she gave up smoking for him. She also keeps her connection with Big a secret, meeting him for dinner back in the city without telling Aiden. Carrie isn't the only person in a new relationship. Big is seeing someone as well, a movie star, Willow Summers, and he is head over heels for her. He gushes and gushes about Willow, but is bothered by their power imbalance because, for the first time, Big doesn't have the upper hand. He starts to spiral, wallow in sadness, and invade Aiden and Carrie's personal space. Carrie seems annoyed with Big's intense feelings towards Willow, but she can't resist playing the role of his emotional caregiver, even at the expense of her own relationship. Back in the city, Miranda reveals she's pregnant and wants to get an abortion. Carrie goes home to discuss it with Aiden and lies about having one herself at 22. When she finally does come clean, it takes her 4 separate tries to tell him the full truth. With Big, Carrie pretended to be more chill and effortless because she didn't want to rock the boat. However, with Aiden, she tries to be a good version of herself, a more wholesome and responsible partner. So she's still performing, just for a different audience. Aiden suggests moving in together after Carrie finds out about her building going co-op. We can tell Carrie is reluctant about this next step and plays down the situation by saying, "Does that make you my landlord or my roommate?" While still contemplating the offer, Carrie gets pushed over the edge after finding an engagement ring in Aiden's duffel bag. She sees the ring and immediately throws up. Carrie's central question in this episode is, how do you know when it's right? In reference to love and marriage, I've heard a lot of people online say, when you know, you know. Thanks in part to a viral Lana Del Rey song. But for neurotic and anxious people like Carrie, being 100% sure of anything, especially something as massive as together forever, is basically impossible. Carrie tells Big that she isn't ready to be married, but he thinks she will never be ready because she isn't the marrying kind. Carrie admits that she's not sure if Aiden is the one, but later that evening, Aiden proposes with an upgraded ring, courtesy of Samantha Jones, and Carrie accepts his proposal, but there is hesitation written all over her face. I have never understood Carrie more than in the last few months. When I finally moved in with my fiance, I also had a total crash out that first day, because when my home is a mess, I can't function. Aiden moving in and having his stuff around is a metaphor for Carrie not being able to let someone in and to take on the emotional baggage of another person. To be fair, Carrie is going from living alone for 13 years, renting, and being unmarried, to living with a man, getting engaged, and buying her apartment. That amount of change would be daunting for anyone. Looking back, All That Glitters is such an irrational episode. Carrie poses a fundamental question. Can you expect to get everything from one man? But I feel like this question has an obvious answer. No! A good relationship is about making sure you have the right things in common, not everything in common. Carrie is struggling to let go of her single self and settle into a partnership. She resists the idea that being in a committed relationship means slowing down, that settling down requires giving up her fun, whirlwind lifestyle. These are valid questions, especially during the time period when marriage came with a strict set of societal rules and expectations. I think if Carrie just addressed her concerns with Aiden directly, she would find a lot more clarity in what she wants their marriage to look like. The ring around the necklace is where she loses me. Like Carrie, you can wear a ring and still go out with your friends. Take it from someone who knows. I've been engaged in New York for over a year, and it hasn't changed my social calendar one bit. Instead of being excited, Carrie is feeling super awkward about wedding planning. Nowadays, a woman like Carrie, who doesn't have the bride gene, or isn't interested in marriage, doesn't have to follow that path. Relationships come in all shapes now. One of my closest friends has been with her man for years. They live together, they share a dog, they're each other's next of kin, and they've traveled the world. But they're not married, and it doesn't really matter at all. That said, in Carrie's case, I don't think Aiden would be comfortable with something that unconventional because he's a traditionalist at heart. Carrie begins having a physical reaction to getting married, a rash spreading up her torso. She knows that she can't take a vow of forever and ever when what she means is the foreseeable future. Stress hives are a real thing. Physical symptoms of stress can vary from flushing, heart palpitations, insomnia, stomach pains, and hives. These symptoms reflect your body's built-in fight or flight response, driven by your automatic nervous system. Carrie is beating herself up over saying yes to Aiden while still having doubts. But like Miranda said, reasonable doubt gets you off for murder in the courtroom. So why does it make you a bad person to have reservations in an engagement? In real life, I think it is completely understandable to have anxiety around getting married. In fact, I can make the argument that not having anxiety means you might not be thinking this through properly. For Carrie, I don't think marrying Aiden was ever going to work. Their last names are a clever metaphor for what would happen if she became Carrie Shaw instead of Bradshaw. She would be losing part of herself. Aiden was a good man, but not the right man for her. The core love triangle in season 3 and 4 between Carrie, Big, and Aiden beautifully illustrates the principles laid out in psychologist Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love. According to Sternberg, love can be understood through 3 primary principles: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Intimacy refers to emotional closeness, vulnerability, and connection. Passion encompasses physical attraction, desire, and the excitement of romantic pursuit. Commitment involves the decision to love someone and the long-term intention to maintaining that love. Sternberg proposes that the most fulfilling relationships, consummate love, are built on all 3 components. When one element is missing, the relationship leans towards an incomplete model of love. Carrie's relationships during this time exemplify 2 incomplete models of romantic love and compassionate love. With Big, her relationship is fueled by intimacy and passion, but lacks the stabilization and comfort of commitment. These are the cornerstones of romantic love. Partners in this relationship often have deep conversations, sexual passion, and intense affection, but lack any long-term commitment or future plans. You could even make the argument that early on, Carrie and Big's relationship was infatuation, a love in which there is only passion. For someone as emotionally driven as Carrie, infatuation might feel like the ultimate form of love, because there is no practical thinking behind it. It is all raw desire. Her relationship with Aiden, on the other hand, offers intimacy and commitment, but lacks a strong sense of passion. Compassionate love feels safe, steady, and grounded, but lacks the spark that keeps romance alive. Carrie is fond of Aiden, she is attracted to him, and she tries to convince herself that comfort can replace chemistry. But she's shown us time and time again that she equates the spark with true love. So she constantly feels like something is missing. According to the theory, a complete or consummate love must be made up of all 3 components. Couples who experience consummate love have great sex several years into their relationship, cannot imagine themselves happier with anyone else, and they manage to overcome differences and face stressors together. Until Carrie learns to integrate all 3 components, she will keep chasing versions of love that are passionate but unstable, or safe but unsatisfying. If you're a follower here on the channel, then you know about my love of costume design and using fashion to decode a character's psychology. Sex and the City has some of the most famous costume designs in TV history, thanks to stylist and New York legend Pat Field. Over the course of season 4, Carrie's necklaces quietly chart her emotional arc. When you watch the show back, knowing that she eventually puts her engagement ring around a chain, it's not hard to see her necklaces as a metaphor for where her head is at. In episode 1 through 5, Carrie sports an antique gold locket. Carrie is longing for partnership and feeling sentimental. When she starts back up with Aiden, we see her rock a variety of horseshoe pendants. In the world of Sex and the City, horses symbolize freedom and wildness, qualities that have always defined Carrie. The horseshoes are a perfect metaphor. She's lucky to be in a relationship, but is feeling confined and yearning to run free. Then we have the engagement ring around the neck. Carrie insists it's closer to her heart this way, but it reads far more like she's feeling choked by the weight of commitment. After the breakup, the Carrie necklace makes its triumphant return, symbolizing the reemergence of her independence and sense of self. Through Pat's styling, the show tells us that Carrie is still figuring out how to find love without losing herself. Season 4 ends on a bittersweet note in I Heart New York. Big announces that he's leaving the city for Napa, trading the chaos of Manhattan for the calm of the West Coast. Carrie is left wondering if maybe New York itself has always been her great love. And in many ways, she's right. The city represents everything she's ever wanted from a partner: excitement, unpredictability, beauty, and freedom. So she takes this point of view as we enter season 5. As we head into Sex and the City's final chapters, Carrie's question shifts from what is love to what do I really want? The next part of her story, season 5 and 6, will show her grappling with solitude, success, and the idea of loving herself as fully as she loves the city, her friends, and any man who's ever walked into her life.